U.S. Senate trending today after lawmakers rejected 4 gun control measures put forth by Democrats and Republicans. Here to discuss is Michele Byington from the U.S. Law Shield. Michele, welcome back to America Trends. Good to have you.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. Now, Michele, what specific measures did the Senate actually vote on?
So there were 4 measures. Number 1 was the most popular that was introduced by Feinstein, and that was the no-fly, no-buy measure, which basically said that if you are on the no-fly list plus you are, or not plus, or you are a suspected terrorist, then you will not be able to purchase a gun. Number 2 was somewhat of a compromise that Senator Cornyn brought out of Texas, which stated that if you have been suspected of any sort of terrorist activity within the past 5 years, then there would be a 72-hour hold, and probable cause would have to be found by a court, and that court would have to say, yes, there's probable cause, therefore you cannot buy this weapon. That was the compromise. The third one had to do with mental health issues, not really at issue. And then there was the one brought by Murphy out of Connecticut, who said that every gun purchase must have a background check. So those were the 4 measures that were introduced, and all 4 failed.
All right, I don't know any gun owner or Second Amendment advocate who wants terrorists to get guns, but Republicans just want to have an appeal process. I guess if for some reason an innocent American ends up on the no-fly list or the terrorist watch list, which, by the way, happens all the time. There are about 1 million people on it right now, many people who don't belong. But Democrats don't want people to be able to appeal. I don't understand that. Do you?
No, I don't understand that either. I mean, no one wants, number 1, terrorism to even exist, and much less a terrorist find themselves being able to possess a gun and wreak havoc on innocent civilians. That's a given. Nobody wants that. However, what we have to remember is that our country's legal system is built upon due process.
Right.
All right. So if somebody is a right is taken away, then it is due to due process. I mean, you had your day in court. It's an adversarial system. You were able to present facts contrary to what was being alleged against you, and then an unbiased third party determines whether you were involved in terrorist activity and therefore you can't buy a gun. But I heard something pretty disturbing this morning, that someone said that due process is getting in the way. That's what our entire legal system is built upon. This is not the Salem witch trials where just an accusation of being a witch gets you burned at the stake. No, that's not how this country works.
Okay, Michele, here's the question, though. Were any of these measures that they were voting on, were any of them capable of stopping the Orlando killer or the San Bernardino killer or any of the rest of them? Or are these politicians just trying to do something to show voters that they're doing something, even if it isn't effective and wouldn't have been effective and won't be effective in future attacks?
None of these gun control measures would have stopped the Orlando attack for sure. They would not have stopped the San Bernardino attack whatsoever. This is retroactive. It is knee-jerk reaction by many people who were trying to point to the gun as the problem, as opposed to radical Islamic terrorism being the problem.
All right. Well, there was an amendment by Senator Dianne Feinstein. And anyway, what would that exactly have done? Go ahead and tell us.
So what she said was that as long as there is a reasonable belief that you are suspected of terrorist activity, you can't buy, possess, or even look at a gun. Now, a reasonable belief is the lowest standard here in the United States. Basically, a reasonable belief is a hunch that perhaps you're engaged in reasonable activity, and that is frightening. And that's why actually John Cornyn's proposal was kind of the middle ground here. That was the compromise, and that was the Democrats' opportunity to take that compromise as opposed to the all or nothing. But as you can see, they took the nothing approach, and nothing passed.
And so they're trying to change probable cause to a reasonable
beliefs.
Yeah, and then, so, but this is the thing. If today they decided that all Tea Partiers, for example, were could be put on this list. Is there anything to stop the government from making such a list and saying anybody who's ever been to a Tea Party or is suspected of having been to a Tea Party can't get a gun?
That's exactly right, and that's what's so frightening about this. We've heard, like you mentioned, there's about 1 million people on this no-fly list. We have heard the cases of veterans being on this no-fly list, and we've heard the case of the mistaken identity where somebody has the same name and they weren't allowed to fly. And I have no idea how you get off this list. No one has any idea how you get on the list, much less get off. And that is what that's where the problem lies, is there's got to be due process here, because just the mere fact that you and I are talking and the fact that I'm a gun lawyer may get me on the no-fly list.
Right. Exactly. All right, well, it sounds like some pretty scary stuff, but it looks like most of it went down. Do you think the media is telling this story accurately?
No. That's an easy one.
That's pretty easy. And so what would you like the narrative to be on this? Like, just if you just could give us your 10-second elevator speech on what actually went down here, what would it be?
If I could run the world, let me tell you what would happen. Is we would stop calling assault weapons we would stop calling semi-automatic firearms, whether it be an AR-15 or a 6-hour MCX, assault weapons. It's not an assault weapon. An assault weapon is a machine gun, which is not lawful for American citizens to possess without federal approval. So I think that this narrative and this fear-mongering that civilians are able to get their hands on these assault weapons that are used in times of war only by military, that's not true. The AR-15 does not stand for assault rifle. It stands for Armalite. It's the manufacturer. It's not assault rifle, and it has the same guts as the handguns that many of us carry around every day. One pull of the trigger, one bullet comes out. These are not machine guns. They're not assault weapons, period. There you go. That was more than 10 seconds. I'm very sorry.
But it looks so much meaner when you put it in that black case that looks so military that it just fools everyone, or else they're intentionally ignorant. You have to decide. But anyway, thank you so much for being with us, Michele. We appreciate it.
Thank you.